Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the message. First, I'm going to give a shout out to S. Jock again, not only for the time she's come through on Cash App, but also for keeping me abreast of certain things. And I don't get a chance to open up every single one that we come across, but it does give me a summary of what's happening internationally that may not be repeated here. To give you an example, here we don't find out much about what's going on in West Africa unless you look specifically for it in English-speaking news channels. That would include, for instance, looking for what happens in Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger. And in Mali, I was glad to see that two things have happened. One, they became debt-free. The government now paid off $300 million that they owe. We hope they stay that way because they could wind up going back in debt easily with a few wrong decisions. But what I've been able to gather so far, they're debt-free right now, and it's better to stay debt-free than to become debt-free. In addition to that, they also went ahead, and this is the thing, it makes it easier for them to make unbiased decisions like the one they just made. They just now said, look, you are going to obey our laws, and we're going to put your butt in handcuffs. And they did that. Pardon me, I would, no, don't pardon me, actually. I'm kind of proud of that one. So in any case, they went ahead and took a billionaire CEO of a gold mining operation and said, put these cuffs on. Got him. They're not playing. Then, on top of that, they went ahead and, well, I think that's actually good enough news for the meantime. But this tells us what the black world is doing, what it's going through. And I don't want for us to throw off the shackles of white supremacy and trade them in for the shackles of anybody else's supremacy over us, except God's, because he's already supreme. But I do want us to know that the black world has the capabilities to make changes for ourselves. And we really have very few things in common with each other, aside from how we are treated for being black. A few things. Not many, but a few. But this leads me to the next point, and that is going to be what's going to wind up happening in terms of how we mate, how we marry, how we start our families. Unfortunately, in Equatorial Guinea, Balthazar Ebang Engonga, who is, I believe, a financial investigation minister, has been busted in several tapes in compromising positions with not only, I think his wife, but even other people's wives. Now, there's one with whom he was on tape, and I saw the image. And I want to thank you, S. Jock, for sending that. I saw it on Facebook, and then I saw the screenshot that S. Jock sent. I'm not going to put that on Confessions in my Buy Me a Coffee channel because, you see, that's not worth me charging for, and I already got a few free confessions up there. I've updated that particular page of mine with a few free posts, although most of them won't be free. But the last few ones were for different reasons. That's not going to be a habit. But this is something that I did see, and I think you should probably ask S. Jock, or rather go to a channel and see if he can put it on the community tab, and then you can see it if you have not already seen it. I want this to be known and understood. Adultery can happen in any society, but this wife of another minister who paid $35,000 US to marry her at least for the wedding, was willing, and there's no nice way for me to say this, but was willing to fuck somebody else's husband with a camera pointed at them. I don't know how many videos, how many different encounters this minister got caught with being recorded. But the point is that we have to look at how we as black folk in general look at mating and how we look at people's worth in the mating market. Why would a man do something like this and then keep video evidence of him boning not only women that aren't his wife, but even other men's wives? What's the reason for that? Well, to understand that kind of psychological framework, there's a joke that is decades old in Black America. And the joke is in the context of a church. You know, you got these little Johnny jokes in white America. So you got this fictitious character, little Johnny, who's always telling off-color jokes for a kid. But there was some sort of character he was one of them like John Henry type characters. And I forgot the name of this character. It's fictitious. And in Black American culture from decades ago, long time ago. And this character he had these heroic physical exploits and feats that he had pulled off. And then the joke goes that one day he walked up in the church on a Sunday, right in time for altar call. And everybody just stopped and said, okay, what? You? And this character started to say, I'm repenting of my wicked ways. I'm giving up drinking. And then he started, and people said, what about all your girlfriends? And he said, oh, I'm gonna stop going with so-and-so. And then he started to list the pastor's wife and different deacons' wives and the assistant pastor's wives and the wife of the treasurer of the masjid, of the church. And he just started listing different church officials' wives that were present there, saying, I'm gonna stop going with his wife, and I'm gonna stop going with his wife, and I'm gonna stop going with his wife too. And eventually one of the deacons that was there said, now hold up. Now, are you repenting or are you just up here bragging? This tells us a lot right there. This is a joke from African American culture from back in maybe the 20s, somewhere to the 20s to the 40s, when we were more conservative, but this was one of them jokes. We have a problem in which we rank a man's worth by how much he can fornicate. Not even how many times he can satisfy his wives, which really ain't our business. That don't count. If we were to talk about that, it wouldn't count. No, it's how much he can fornicate. With how many women. And it's a blemish on a man's record to not be pursued by women for the purpose of fornication, even though most of the time women ain't gonna pursue most men for that anyway. And even if they do, there's still something else they want to get out of it. If a woman's laying down with a personal trainer because he got the muscles, she wants a baby. If a woman's laying down with a rich man, she wants some of those finances. So even when they want the ding-a-ling, they want something else to go along with it that the man does not have an interest in giving. And they want it under the conditions in which a man would not have an interest in giving that. You could take a personal trainer that wants to have a child. The minute he knocks up somebody else's wife and he's like all giddy about it, listen, I got the baby. As a matter of fact, you know what? You can act like baby passed away. Go back to your husband. I raised the baby. This is what I always wanted. If he says that, she will abort that baby. Even if he's a personal trainer and she figured him to be a perfect genetic specimen. And she ain't even got to raise the baby. Her DNA just out there being taken care of, mixed with super DNA, but she'll say, you know what, he wanted to have a baby. What is wrong with this? Never mind. I go to Planned Parenthood. So I don't trust this. Something wrong. That's how they think. But we've fallen into a psychosis that I've talked about before that comes out of the ways that sisters think. And we're saying that this is the problem, not only in the USA and Canada and South Africa and the UK, where these sisters can be just as hybristophilic and animalistic as a white supremacist could stereotype them to be, and more and worse. Oh, they supersede that. But it gets worse than that. It gets to be that bad and more than what they could negatively stereotype, worse than what we could even imagine. And now it's even in Equatorial Guinea. One man has the videotapes to prove it. What the hell, man? This is a problem with a lot of our people in a lot of different places. Now, we're not the only ones who tend to think that way. But we have to understand that this is not a way we can afford to live. This is not a way we can afford to think. We still judge a man's manhood by how many women will pursue and fornicate with this man. We got to stop that mess. This leads to a psychosis. And this is why it is that you'll see somebody sitting up here who's a minister, already accomplished and married, that will not only lay up with other men's wives and women that ain't his wife, but will video record it. And I don't think it was just for his private consumption, lady, even though he had to be caught with it. What is this about? What else is there? It is proof that he can get some. Now, Livia Lex has pretty much confessed that you got to be that dude that can always get another chick for the chick that you would to want to stay with you, even if she don't believe in polygyny and sharing. She done confessed to that already. I don't think I charged anything for posting that confession because it's still up there and it's on her YouTube channel. Why charge? However, and I did put it on Buy Me a Coffee and I made it public. Didn't charge none for it. But what I have to look at and say here is this. Why is it that we're sitting up here willing to try to appeal to, even if it is women of our own race? Why are we trying to appeal to women who go for this psychosis? Because believe you me, brethren, the minute you drop that immature, childish, juvenile, teenage way of thinking, it is still going to be reinforced by the black woman. And not just the American one, not just the British one. No, from the continent too, depending on which part. And now we know Equatorial Guinea's got a goddamn problem. We got to start paying attention to what's going on. Because in all honesty, man, what this is going to do is it's going to cook the reputation of black women worldwide on the basis of race, not specific cultures and nationalities, even though that still determines which black women are ratchet and which ones are traditional. The fact is that people are going to get to a point where even other black folks are going to look and say, well, how the hell are we going to know which one? We don't have a map of Africa that is based on how the women behave towards men, ratchet or traditional, respectful or disrespectful, fair or emasculating. We don't have a clue. I told you black women are going to teach these young black men to hate them because they're black. I told you that. Well, what's happening now is that they're out here teaching middle-aged black men, not only in the diaspora, but on the continent too, to not want them because they are black. And I'm getting to that point where I'm starting to look at some of these women and I'm starting to say, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with you. Now, I don't get these issues with my wife, but I'm getting to the point now where I will, I'm developing I myself am developing a distrust for sisters I don't know. Now, I'm not sizing them up for marriage, but I'm already beginning to distrust them. And what is the reason? Southeast Asian women can be traditional, they can be sexually conservative, they could be loose, they could be any kind of way. But you know what I don't generally find them doing? I don't hear about them being emasculating, and I don't hear about them encouraging each other to emasculate any man. If they do act like that, who's going to sit up and high five them and say, you go, girl? You're a real woman. You're a liberated woman. No, even when you hear about women like from that part of the world being loose, it's for financial reasons. In other words, if they had another way to make the same money without being loose with David JJ, they'd pick that. They're not sitting out here trying to prove to everyone. So even if you had a woman that is out there just smashing every other dude, and she's going to want something out of it, and there'll be some kind of financial gain in whatever she wants. But even if she does it, one of the things I know is that if she gets upset with a man because of what that man doesn't know, because he can't read her mind, she'd rather just leave that man be than to sit up there and try to publicly emasculate him. Yeah, I fucked him too, and I fucked him, and I fucked him, and everybody but you. That's not what she wants to do. She doesn't want to say something like that. A sister will throw her reputation in the mud. Various nationalities of women of our race will throw their own reputations into the mud, then pull it out the mud, boo-boo on a reputation, then pee on it, then throw it in the dumpster, then pull it back out and brag about that still. Just to say to a man, I screw everybody but you. You paid and he played. Yeah, that's right. You had to pay and didn't get none, and I fucked him for free. And to be honest with you, what I'm finding is that there's more bragging coming from them in South Africa than there is even coming from them in the States at times. It's like they want to beat the American sister at this. I'm finding posts. I'm going to put that on Buy Me a Coffee. And I'm going to tell you, those are going to be screenshots, and I'm not going to make that free. I might make it free to all subscribers, monthly subscribers for a while, and then make it free to only first class after a while. I might do it like that, but I'm telling you, it's bad. It is rough. This sex scandal going on in Equatorial Guinea is just one example. One of the issues is that with women of our race across many cultures is that they like to be difficult to men and they like to emasculate men. And then they get with men of other races and they stop doing that shit. One of my subscribers and frequent commentators told me that he knew in the Dominican Republic, he knew a Haitian lady for a long time, and she was a professional masseuse, but she never told him that she was one when she knew that he had back trouble. Now, did she not tell him that because of chastity and she wasn't supposed to be massaging a man that ain't her husband? No way. It had nothing to do with that. He ain't Muslim. She wasn't Muslim, or he would have told me something like that. It wasn't about that. That's not what this was about. It was about she didn't want to apply that professional knowledge she had to his relief. But you let a white dude come from the States and say something about having a back problem, and she'll be like, oh, let me let him know right off the bat that I'm good for taking care of that too, because he a whitey. Man, shuck this fit. I mean, remember this song, this an Afro beats song going around about how she ain't got nothing for a black man, but let her find a white dude and it's all over. And I mean, only logical has played this. That's not an American song and it's not a British song. It's a song from the continent. Now, Austin Holloman is enjoying living in Kenya, and I'm glad he is. I want him to be happy somewhere, and he likes women of our own race, and I want him to be happy in a place like that. But I also have to understand this. Kenya and Uganda, especially their big cities, are places where you've got women that will do the same thing. Women from many parts of the continent will turn around and change up. It's not just American black women. It's not just British black women. It's not just the Canadian black women. It is not just some of the Caribbean black women. It is black women across many nationalities that will change the up fuck when you put a white dude in front of them, and they will act different. And we already know how these white dudes act when they get them a black woman. They already know they ain't supposed to be with her according to the rules of their own race. And even though the politically correct thing for them to say to anybody is it ain't your damn business, it's mine, the fact remains that there are enough people that are going to look at them questioningly or ask them questions enough in life for them to know that everyone has that question. Why a black woman? Of all women, why a black woman? If not a white woman, fine. Why not an Asian woman? Why a black woman? Okay, why not a dark-skinned Southeast Asian woman, but not a black woman? Why a black woman? What's wrong with you? They know that this is going to be in everybody's mind because you got to jump over every other woman to get to her. Now, granted, they'll jump over every other man to get to that white dude. So the fact remains that they still, I mean, that's just what it is. It's still bad. And they will turn around and just, despite the fact that these white men are not interested in black women and don't treat them equal to how they treat pretty much any other woman, especially that white woman. The fact remains that these sisters are willing to ignore what the hell they see happening and jump over even other men of color that had nothing to do with the oppression of black folks to get at the man who's responsible for it. So when they sit up and tell you, well, he didn't do nothing to black people. He's not an oppressor. He's not a slave master. He's just himself. He's just one guy. Remember that if she is with a man that is not black, that's one thing, and that could be completely normal. But if she is with a white man, it is not because he's different and he's not an oppressor. No, it is because she sees him as the oppressor, even if he's not. Cognitively, she knows that that man could very well be innocent of oppressing anybody. She knows that cognitively, but she still identifies him as the oppressor, and that's the reason why she picked him. Otherwise, she would have picked somebody from Latin America or a man from Southeast Asia if she could get one. Meanwhile, we sit up here being hyper scrutinized, and in this hyper scrutiny that black women have for us, they hate chastity. They hate lack of sexual experience in a black man. Can't stand it. And we fall for that. And that's the reason why we fall into these scandals. They create a sex starved mentality. Now, human beings in general are, I mean, human adults that are healthy are into sex. It's interesting. We know why the hell it is. But what I'm stating is that sisters want to create a sex starved mindset and culture. Now, they can sit up and say, don't blame us. Y'all be doing that. Well, there are roles that some men do play in this and roles that other men don't play in it. But the point is that when men don't play into that, then the women still get upset and try to revive it. That's why they're complaining about why men aren't obsessed with them and chasing after them now. They want to know what's going on. Why aren't these men chasing us? Why aren't they pursuing us? Why aren't they trying to get after us? We're going to these singles events and no one's approaching us. White or black, they are complaining about the men of their race not approaching them anymore. Because this is where it is that they're beginning to see that when they try to create or they try to feed into a mindset of sex starvation and sexual dissatisfaction in men, when they try to create play into that or try to incite men's interest in them wearing whatever they do in public, the men say, yeah, but you know what, as soon as I pay any attention, she's going to throw a damn fit anyway, so never mind. Just forget about it. It's not worth it. And these women know about that. But it is largely, if you want to take it by not culture, but by race, each of which is comprised of multiple cultures, you're going to find that amongst our race, you got the most cultures, and they're the most widespread, in which the women are emasculating of the men, and the men also fall for this. Because these tapes are also backups in men's minds to prove that they're adequate for the draws. That's because sisters want you to always be fiending for them, but always feel like don't nobody owe you none, no matter how much you succeed, no matter what you do. Yeah, you should always be fiending for some draws, but you're never owed the draws. You never deserve. You can't do anything to earn the draws, and that especially includes marrying them. That's what it is now. Sisters are leading other races in terms of this. I want that over with. I really do. I want you bros to understand how bad that gets. I want you bros to realize that while this minister is responsible for recording this stuff himself, and he's going to face accountability for it, I want you to know why it is at times that you might feel like you need to videotape something. You need to understand why you might even have the idea that it will be a good thing to do or that there's some advantage to gain from that. You need to be cognizant of where this idea comes from so that when the idea does come into your head, you say, no, man, shuck that fit. I'm not going for that. You need to have that. So you realize you need to know that this is a problem, not just dealing with the culture of Western sisters, but that this is a problem even in certain parts of Africa now. Accountability commentary says Keisha's Keisha no matter the nationality. I don't say that it's no matter the nationality. I would say that it is becoming that way. So what accountability commentary is saying is going to be true at the rate that we're going. He's pointing to a particular severity of it before it gets to that level of severity, before that level of severity is realized. That is my take on this. So there will be a day when he's going to be right. It ain't going to matter what the culture is, what the nationality is. If she's black, she individually may not do this stuff, but if she is black, she cannot belong to a culture that is against these sorts of things because there won't be one. But right now, what I do believe is that it changes from region to region, probably even within the same country. I mean, Nigeria is very different. The North is quite conservative. It is changing, I'm sure. The South is effing gone. It's over with. It's absolutely over with. That's one of the reasons why it is that Nigerian women drive their men into the arms of South African women. South African women, the Southern Nigerian women are driving their men into the arms of South African women. South African women are driving their men into the arms of Cape Verdean women. But Cape Verdean women are driving Cape Verdean men away once you get to the cities, at least. They got internet access, it's over. They're not playing. They're each about the business of driving away their own men. And the other thing that they have in common, you send them one of the sending one of Massa's sons or grandsons, and all of that hardcore exterior melts away. They try to flitter around like little feminine butterflies. They try, and these men are looking at them like, okay, number one, I know this bitch ain't really that feminine. Number two, she wouldn't be this into me if she wasn't black, because nobody else wants her, and she thinks I don't realize this stuff. And number three, even if I think she's attractive enough for me to be with, in the bed. She still got that wide nose, big lips, nappy hair, melanin. So there are women out there that are just sexier than her, and I don't really like it that much. And she better not have the same attitude as these other. She better understand that she's inferior. And the minute that sister forgets, even though she has an inferiority complex, the minute she forgets, then he says, "No, I'm finna slap this bitch because she forgot." I cannot have her ass acting like she's equal to my women or any other woman, let alone me. She forgot. And before you know it, you got a Chad Wheeler situation. But when it comes to you, you're emasculated to the point that you have this notion in your head at times that you're going to have to retain some sort of proof of whenever you were considered sexually viable by a black woman so you can be considered sexually viable by another because you like them that much. Video recording yourself in acts of fornication or adultery are not excusable, not in your religions or in mine. I am not telling you that you can duck and dodge accountability for something like this because you control it. But what I am saying is that the motivation for this is something you still are going to have to understand coming from somebody else so that you can look at that motivation and say, man, the hell with that. That way you don't have a motivation anymore. And we stop this BS. Because in the end, the psychosis is one of us trying to prove that it's not a bad decision for a nice looking black woman that's not 300 pounds and 4 feet tall to open her legs to us. That's really what a lot of the times it's us trying to prove that all the nasty negative stuff we've heard about ourselves from women of our own race, various cultures and nationalities, really ain't true. And there was a guy I knew. I'm pretty sure this dude was bi. This is in Morehouse. This was in the 90s. And he'd been in the military, stationed in different places. And he was talking about when he was stationed in Southeast Asia. And he said, oh, he had fond memories of there. That you had women that were willing to just do all kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised. And this, back in the 90s, Bangkok had a reputation even then. I was like, well, that's the rumors going around. But look, man, yeah, there've been documentaries by that about that. But I asked him, well, look, were you stationed in any part of Africa? And he said, yeah, I was stationed in about 2 or 3 places in the continent. I can't remember which nations he said. But just to ask, I said, look, man, did did y'all do that wild stuff on the continent too? And he said, no. Now, what I wanted to know was, I just want to make sure he didn't say, no, black women were too ugly and that's, that, and the other. I want to make sure that it wasn't that. That he wasn't one of them dudes that just liked any woman that wasn't black. And it turned out he was not. But what he said is, no, African women have more dignity about themselves. No, they got more dignity about themselves. They wouldn't like that. And that's cool. I was glad to hear that. We're talking 90s. I was far more pro-black than I am now. So there was no hatred of sisters, especially the original African sister, just based on her blackness and her originality. Okay, fine, cool. But he said she had more dignity than that. And I hope that at that time, that's actually what it was, because what I'm seeing now will be evidence that it's not about dignity. It's not about their dignity. It's about tearing yours down. It's not about chastity. It's about them tearing you down, diminutizing you, devaluing you. Because of the degenerate you're not, and because of the oppressor that you are not. Now, AC Accountability Commentary, shout out to him, has stated that you are not devalued by sisters because of the man you're not, but because of the degenerate that you are not. He stated that. He said it's not even because of the tough guy that you're not, it's specifically because of the degenerate you're not, which is why black women want specifically killers. Not just somebody who cut a little class, got some tattoos, sprayed a little graffiti, got into a few fistfights. No, they don't want that. No, you got to be a killer. Brad don't, but you do. He pointed it out. And I'm stating that I believe that that's exactly what it is, but that it is also because of the oppressor that you are not. You don't put your foot on other men's necks. You ain't interested in that. One thing I can say is that when some of us passport bros or SYSB and move to other places, even if we don't make a lot of friends with the local men, and I know that varies from individual to individual, but even those of us that may not make a lot of friends with the local men are not willing to oppress those local men. We are not willing to sit up there and overwork and underpay them. If we hired some of them to do a job, we're going to try to pay them well according to how well they did their job. We're going to try to do that. If you get a lawyer to review a contract for you, and a lawyer says, okay, this is how we should word this, that, and the other, especially if they explain it very well in English and it's not their first language, you're going to look and say, this is a hustler. So let me go and pay a little bit more if he'll accept that. If I can afford it and he'll accept it. We don't go in with this mindset to exploit. That's not how we think, and that's exactly what the hell it is that sisters look at us and think makes us not men. And that's why I said the same thing that AC is saying, but with a different vocabulary. He and I had the same thought with a different vocabulary. It's because of the oppressor that you are not. I was just a little bit more specific. I lament this because I've never, ever wanted anything that black men have to do collectively to be simply because or on the basis of the black woman's nose, lips, color, and hair texture. I've never wanted it to be that way. I still don't. But what I do understand is that as more and more sisters from more and more cultures are willing to follow in that path, that eventually the marker by which we're going to identify women who are going to act a particular way is going to be, is she from the same race as us or not? Same nose, lips, color, and hair texture. Nope, never mind. And as this happens, as big as Africa is, as wide as Africa is, and as diverse as Africa is, eventually the reaction is going to hit the continent after this particular provocation spreads throughout it. And that is going to be, you're going to have brothers that are going to say, I will stay by myself. I am not going to get with a woman of my own race. If I can leave the continent, then I'll do it and I'll get somebody else. But no, these women here, even if I come from them, even if they look like my sisters, and even if they're the ones that I have come to identify as the same women, culturally speaking or genetically, even if they still are messy and mean and they're men, or they want to be, or they want me to think they are, and I'm done. That's what it is. That's what it's going to come down to. And that's what I'm going to tell these men. When they ask me, that's what I'm going to tell these men it is. I want to say to these men, you know what, man? Yeah, you need to leave her. I'm going to say to these men, yeah, you know what? You need to not even try to get with her. I'm already telling my close friend who got a good job, congratulations. You know who you are, brother. I met him back in '03, I believe. We're from the same highway. We both grew up not too far from Interstate 10. Creole Muslim brothers, both of us. He's got 3 daughters and a son. Um, and my son Simba saw him this last summer with me. We both saw him this last summer and his kids. He went through it. Married a Muslima, African American Muslima. But her mama was a pistol. Her mama was a sapphire. And while her mama was a sapphire and just running circles around her dad, calling shots and everything else, you know, the typical, all the stereotypical stuff, neck rolling, attitude, and all that stuff. You know, I later on had to say to him, look, man, the divorce has been finalized. You and her ain't together no more. You would have liked to keep your family together, and that's understandable. But you've always been, by anybody's stretch of the imagination, you have always been the alpha man. In style, in the ways that we associate style, and in the substance that we know to be what it means in its intended meaning originally as an alpha man. So whether we're talking about the substance of the original intent, or whether we're talking about the style loosely associated with it, by any definition, you fit that category. You were not going to sit up here and pine and mourn the breakup of your family because of the decision that she made. You still the kid's dad. And from now on, you go ahead and you work on your passport, you work on your finances, your skill set, your ability to make money elsewhere. You work on that. And in the end, if you do remarry, we're going to get you into Southeast Asia where you can remarry. We're going to get you into a place where your son is not going to only have the option to marry within the race, because frankly, sisters don't know how to act when that's what it is. And he even said, well, what about Africa? And I told him, I said to him, it is wide, it is diverse, it is varied. I told him it's all of that. It's not all the same. But there's going to come a day when it is. And we got to make sure that we don't limit ourselves to just that when it comes to starting a family. Now, business is one thing, residency, but we can't limit ourselves to that continent, because it's fast becoming a place in which sisters in general, women of our race, are beginning to imitate the worst. And they already have some women next door to them that can imitate the Angolan woman. Gone. Urban or rural. Shouts out to Senor Conga for pointing that out. The South African woman. If she's urban, gone. Nasty bitch. Misandric and everything else. Polyandrous, misandric, just mean. Let's say she's from the village, she's rural. She's still a single mom and is only with you because she's a single mom. She may be nice, knows how to treat you, but she's still going to bring you other men's kids, and you need to love her and her kids and take them as a package deal. But you better not have another wife, even though that's perfectly acceptable in most of the Black South African societies and even considered normal. Oh, but no. She ain't with that. Never mind, the dads ain't nowhere in the picture, and she might even, if you really question her, she might not know who they are. Never mind that. You better not have another wife. But she'll be nice to you if she's from the village. For now, that's going to change one day too. So even the sisters in parts of Africa that may just not want to be nice to men anymore can easily find someone not too far from them from whom they can learn the misandry and whom they can imitate. The northern Nigerian woman can imitate the southern Nigerian woman. If she lives in Kano where it's conservative and she wants to wild out, they know. In Kano, they don't really wild out that much. That's underground and very restricted. But if they're going to join that little underground wilding out society with clubs and everything else, then eventually what's going to happen is that they're going to run out of clubs and events and everything. That scene in Kano was very limited and boring, but they're going to hop a train and go to Abuja. Not Lagos in the far south. No, Abuja right smack dab in the middle, and they're going to wild the Ukf out. They're already developing an attitude. And the beginning of it is they got problems with polygyny. That's the first part of it. That's the first sign. They take issue with polygyny. Starts there. If a woman in Mozambique who's traditional and generally has respect for men, at least men that are responsible, decides, I just don't feel like respecting responsible men anymore. They don't make enough money for me. I want me either a baller or a whitey. And that's it, nothing else. All she got to do is look at the women next door in South Africa and follow them. That's all it takes. What if you go to, don't get me started on Kenya. Kenya has, I mentioned this before, Kenya's got a manosphere. Shout out to S-Jock for me realizing that too. And Senor Conga. And Don Calypso for making me aware of that. If Kenya has a manosphere, what the F is it reacting to? What provoked it in Kenya? It's run by a Kenyan, and it's Kenyan men that are looking at it. The manosphere there is largely led by, I think it's an account called Amerix. And the icon for it is MLK Jr., but it's run by a local man there. How did that come about? It doesn't come around in a vacuum. There has to be an initial action for there to be a reaction. And this is, there's a video about that. And one of the men even said it, when I had trouble having trouble finding a job. The woman that I love was talking about I'm a loser. I'm not saying that the fornication aspect of that is okay. Brother Johnson, you know who you are. You always bring that up. What I'm saying is that the lesson from that is still to be learned. She's not saying this to this man because he's fornicating with her. She's saying this to this man because of the money that he doesn't have, because of the job he doesn't have, because of the economy that affects all of them anyway. But she wants to call him a loser because she don't fib a guck what he has to face. She only fibs a guck, what can this man bring home? That's what that is. So, I know I've been going on for a long time, and I've been out for a few days because my girlfriend's been in town. She spent this last week with me on our vacation, and I wasn't about to ignore her for long enough to record, then edit, then upload, then write the description and all that other stuff. But yeah, she was here. She left a little less than 2 hours ago. But yeah, now I can catch up. And I wanted to point that out. What y'all gotta face, what y'all gotta deal with, what y'all gotta look at. And what this means. What does this sex scandal in Equatorial Guinea really point to? You want to know what the meaning of it is? There it is right there. What the hell is this man sitting up here doing this for? Should he have? No, I'm not excusing that. What's the reason? I'm only mentioning that because I want you to know the reason you might have for thinking that something like that will be a good idea. Now, he had a position to lose. But a lot of you brothers that don't have positions like this to lose, you may have resources to lose, but you don't have necessarily positions to lose. You might be thinking, yeah, I might need to have a little something like this stored away so that, if this chick I'm digging starts thinking that I'm a nobody, I got proof that, no, I'm somebody when it comes to these broads. Because deep down that they're utilizing, which is one of the confessions that I put up there, that they are utilizing each other to determine how viable a man is. You know that they're not picking and choosing individually on their own. They're picking and choosing with the hive mind. And you're catering to that when you start thinking this way. So I recorded this so that you understand, okay, this is how they want you to think. So that when you do have a position to lose, then you'll lose the position. I hope that what I've said is a benefit, helps you out. You've got to mentally liberate yourselves from the sexual demands of Black women across multiple cultures. Now, I'm not saying every culture, but across multiple cultures in which they have this tendency to try to emasculate men and challenge your manhood and your masculinity. And this is unfortunately something that too many Black women from too many cultures, even on our home continent, do have. I don't think our women are the only ones that got it. I know there's a group in South America, in some mountainous area, where the women are like that. I don't fib a guck. Leave them bitches alone too if you find them. If you move out there and you manage to find them, and you think, okay, they're kind of nice to look at, but you find out that they got these attitudes when you approach them about marriage. Oh, I gotta act a damn fool. Bitch, done with you. You shouting and screaming and acting like my proposal ain't nothing because you got a save face in front of everybody else. Fuck you. And don't give me a cultural reason why you have to do it. Fuck your culture if that's what it is. Your culture's shit. You got to act like no man makes the cut. Okay, bitch, no man will make the cut. Same mistake the Western women made. Congratulations, dummy. Your culture was a part of the problem from the beginning without the Western woman's influence. You double stupid. That's how you got to play that. And I tell you, brothers, that's how you got to play it, because in reality, whether you know it or not at times, you are seen as a prize. If you are a brother with a decent build and you clean and you ain't no bum, you're a prize. You might be the second most desirable man on the planet, but when everything else is equal, they want you first. That's what a lot of y'all don't realize. Other things are equal, yeah. And that's why I tell you, you have to know how to wield that. I hope that what I've said is a benefit. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. And I invite you to go to buy me a coffee and subscribe to either the business class or the first class of Jet Black Airways and become a member. And as a matter of fact, pretty soon I'm going to post up story time, and you'll be able to tell me if it was something sent to me or if it is something I wrote. You'll tell me which one you think it is before I reveal what really was the case to y'all. But go ahead and join, and keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.